punishment has been given for Rain Brown from Alaskan Bush people. Youngest and once most hopeful member of the Brown family, is now facing hard consequences for a crime that has shocked fans and followers for a long time. Many people are confused about Rain's fall from glory after she and her husband were arrested for burglary, malicious mischief, and criminal trespass. Things were getting worse in her life behind the scenes long before the news came out. Now that the sentence is over, there are still hard questions. How fast did Rain Brown's world fall apart? What fights did she keep quiet about? Is there still a way for her to get back after everything she has lost? Or is this really the end? The country is shocked by Rain Brown's arrest. What took place? Rain Brown and her husband Josiah Lorton were caught in Okanogan County, Washington on April 11, 2025. Rain is the youngest daughter of the famous Alaskan Bush people family. The charges were very bad. Both of these are felonies: first-degree burglary and first-degree malicious harm. Rain was also charged with second-degree criminal mischief, which is a serious crime. According to police reports, Rain and Josiah were accused of breaking into a private property without permission and doing a lot of harm. Even though specifics about what happened, like who owned the land, how bad the damage was, or what happened inside the house, have not been made public. Police sources stated that the charges were based on evidence gathered at the scene of the crime and statements from witnesses. A lot of people in the reality TV world were shocked by the arrest. Rain had been presented for years as the good, grounded child of the rough Brown family who lived alone in harsh conditions. Fans who had watched her grow up on national TV were shocked to see her in handcuffs and facing major felony charges. Rain and Josiah were taken to the county jail and held there for 3 days. Both were freed without having to post bail on April 14, 2025, which was a strange move. Some people thought that their release meant the charges might not be as serious as first thought, while others said it showed that they had good records in the past. Still, they were told to go to court at a later date to officially answer the charges. The public responded quickly and in different ways. Some fans rushed to Rain's defense, saying they couldn't believe she could be guilty of any crime. Others pointed out that her more and more unpredictable public behavior over the past few years could be a sign of deeper personal problems. Rain Brown's dramatic and very public fall came after this troubling event. Her once private fights were now in the full view of the media. Fans had been spreading rumors and guesses about her case for weeks, with not much public information coming out. Not long ago, though, everything changed. Breaking news reports confirmed that things have taken a dramatic and sad turn for the worse. Fans all over the world were shocked by what happened next, which made them wonder even more about where Rain Brown's life is really going. The shocking arrest of Rain is just the start of a much bigger story. Years of secret inner fights that not many people ever really understood shaped this story. A long fight with mental health. Even before she was arrested, there were already signs in Rain Brown's life that were not good. Rain had a happy face that people knew from Alaskan Bush people, but she was actually having major mental health problems that got worse over time. As the youngest child in the Brown family, Rain was put under a lot of stress from a very young age. She lived in harsh conditions for the reality TV shows and was cut off from the rest of the world as a child. For people who saw behind the scenes, this way of life looked daring and exciting, but it cost them a lot emotionally. In 2018, Rain proudly told her fans that she was dealing with severe depression. She was only 15 years old at the time. She said she was going to therapy to deal with her strong emotions of sadness, loneliness, and not knowing where she fit in the world. Rain's Instagram posts became more emotional and vague, and she sometimes talked about feeling lost or confused. Fans became worried when she talked about her problems inside, and at one point she called herself a lost soul. Rain would sometimes hide from social media for weeks or even months at a time without giving a reason. This led to more rumors about her mental health. Later, people close to the family said that Rain had recurring bouts of sadness that were made worse by her growing responsibilities as a young adult still trying to find her feet. She was torn emotionally between the harsh demands of off-grid survival and the expectations of reality TV fame. She was often cut off from traditional support systems like school friends, counselors, and teachers. Rain used art, poetry, and upbeat posts on her social media to hide how sad she was. But sometimes heavier messages would get through in her posts that were meant to be encouraging. In one post she talked about using a smile as defense, which was a hint at the huge emotional load she carried when no one was around. Fights over mental health are rarely easy. Many people who have been following Rain's story closely think that her many years of inner turmoil may have made it harder for her to make good choices or get help when she needed it. Some people who saw her think that her quiet pain was a terrible part of the series of bad decisions that led to her arrest. From the outside it may have looked like a sudden fall from glory, but for many it was the tragic result of years of unresolved pain that had been building up. It got worse for Rain emotionally, and she had to deal with new turning points that would send her even further down a path she could no longer control. Billy Brown's death. Rain Brown was hit very hard in February 2021, and it changed the course of her life forever. Billy Brown, her father and the beloved head of the Alaskan Bush People family, died suddenly at the family's North Star Ranch in Washington at the age of 68 after having a seizure that killed him. Billy had more than one child besides Rain. He was her rock, her moral guide, and the thing that kept her emotionally stable. Rain always talked about her father as her hero and best friend, someone who helped her through the unique problems that came with growing up away from the modern world. His death left a huge hole in the Brown family, but for Rain it was a disaster that changed his whole life. During the weeks after he died, Rain's sadness was very clear. To her Instagram fans, she wrote sad messages in which she told them she felt lost without him. She wrote, "I don't know who I am anymore without you," in an emotional post. She shared pictures of sunsets and wild places as metaphors for loss, loneliness, and looking for meaning in a world that felt strange and dangerous all of a sudden. Fans saw a big change in her behavior right away. Rain pulled away from the attention by only appearing in a few episodes of her family's reality show and not using social media for a long time. She used to be lively and full of life, but she became sad and isolated. Later, people close to the family confirmed that Ray had been going through waves of deep depression and was having a hard time finding a way to move on after the death of the guy who had always held her emotionally stable. Billy's death also changed the way the family worked together. As the boss and decision-maker, Billy had kept his family together through many hard times. Without him, fights between brothers became more obvious, and the family's once solid image began to fall apart. Even though Rain was already having her own emotional problems, losing family support made her situation even worse, leaving her in a shaky state at a time when she needed security the most. A lot of people who have watched Rain's story think that Billy's death set off a chain of terrible events in her life. Rain was more likely to make bad decisions, be affected by unhealthy influences, and become emotionally unstable without his direction and protection. She found it hard to set limits, tell the difference between real friends and opportunists, and find her own identity outside of the family's carefully controlled public image. If these weaknesses weren't fixed, they would lead her into dangerous situations, which is what led to the legal problems that are now making news. Rain's sadness was made even worse by the fact that she had to mourn in public. It's hard enough to grieve alone, but Rain had to deal with friends and critics watching every move she made. Every vague post, absence, and emotional outburst was scrutinized and judged, making her feel even more alone, open, and misunderstood. A lot of people think that being alone made her make more bad choices and trustless people. Rain quickly went to one of the few places she thought would help her feel better. She was still dealing with a lot of sadness and looking for something or someone to support her. A new friendship that would turn out to be one of the most important and controversial choices she has ever made. A close look at Rain's marriage. After Billy Brown's death, Rain Brown desperately looked for safety, companionship, and a safe place to feel better. She was away from most of her family because she was grieving and having problems with her mental health. She found comfort in a relationship that quickly became serious. How she felt about Josiah Lorton. The world doesn't know much about Josiah Lorton. A celebrity, a survivalist, or a TV figure. He is not. Fans often thought of the Brown family as rough, but Josiah's past is mostly unknown, which has led to a lot of speculation. It's clear that Josiah became an important part of Rain's life at a time when she was most open to being hurt, when her family relationships were broken, and when she was under a lot of public criticism. Rain and Josiah's relationship grew mostly out of sight of the cameras. Rain decided to keep many things about her marriage private, which was different from other times in her life. She didn't post much about Josiah, and when she did, it was only for a short time and with caution. Some fans saw Rain's privacy as a sign of true love, as if she were guarding something holy. Others, though, were afraid that Rain's loneliness and unresolved trauma made her more likely to form unhealthy relationships. Rain revealed in 2024 that she had married Josiah Lorton in secret. Fans who had known about it for a long time were shocked by the news. Notably, none of Rain's brothers went to the wedding, which made people really wonder about the family's problems within. Rain's marriage seemed to represent a bigger change, a young woman who is breaking away from her family's norms and expectations because she wants to be independent, but she may be doing this out of deep emotional pain rather than because she feels strong. Later, people who knew what was going on said that Rain and Josiah lived a rough survivalist lifestyle, but they didn't have the money or resources that Alaskan bush people used to give them. The couple allegedly had a hard time with money and often moved from one temporary home to another and relied on odd jobs to make ends meet. Insiders said that Rain's ongoing mental instability and the stress of money problems made the environment tense and unstable. Many people quickly saw a link between Rain's personal problems, the stress of her new marriage, and the choices she made that led to her downfall when she and Josiah were arrested for burglary, malicious mischief, and trespassing in April 2025. Some people saw Rain's relationship with Josiah as an escape when things were the worst. Over time, though, it may have turned into another source of instability instead of the strong base she knew she needed so badly. Since shocking new information came out about Rain's court case, questions about her friendship with Josiah have only grown. Was he a partner who loved and supported her through the hardest times, or did their bond, which was formed out of grief and desperation, speed up Rain's fall into crisis? After she was arrested, Rain Brown finally spoke out. She blamed her previous manager, someone she used to trust very much, instead of strangers. The public's reaction to Rain's would cause even more trouble. Based on what her manager says, Rain's is fighting hard to protect her image. Rain Brown was arrested in April 2025 and spent 3 days in jail. After that, she was freed without bail. On the other hand, she finally chose to speak out before her next court date. Everyone was shocked by her word. Rain didn't say sorry or explain the charges against her. Instead, she went on Instagram and accused her former manager of betrayal, theft, and making false claims. Rain wrote an emotional and heartfelt post in which she said that her former boss, who she had trusted with her career and money, had not only stolen from her but was now working to bring her down by accusing her of crimes she denies. She wrote, "It hurts my heart that my rainbows would choose to believe the lies that my old manager stole $43,000 from me and abused me, instead of maybe thinking, oh no, who is saying this about Rain? Instead of, wow, what a waste." She then begged her fans to wait for her side of the story. "It hurts my heart very much. After reading all of this, I hope you'll stay to hear my side of the story. Have a great day." Along with her message, Rain posted a strong Bible verse that she wanted people to really understand and be fair to. "Do not judge, or you will be judged. Because you will be judged by the same standards you use to judge others." Through her words, Rain made it clear that she thought the legal nightmare she was facing was not her fault, but the work of someone who had hurt her badly before targeting her again. She told stories of being lied to, stealing from, and being emotionally abused. She saw herself as a young woman who had been hurt again by people she had trusted when she was weakest. Fans had very different opinions. Some people rushed to Rain's defense, saying that she had been foolish and taken advantage of when she was young, especially after her father died and she lost her temper. They believed what she was saying and thought she had been attacked by a manipulative ex-colleague who knew how weak she was. Some people, though, didn't believe what Rain said. Some people wondered if her decision to blame her boss was an effort to avoid taking responsibility for what she did. They said that legal charges are not brought easily and asked if Rain was trying to change people's minds before her court date. Fans agreed on one thing, no matter where they stood. The angry post on Instagram by Rain Brown turned her small legal problem into a big fight for her image in public. The theft charges were no longer the only thing that was important. It had grown into a more complicated tale of betrayal, manipulation, and mental breakdown. However, what Rain said about her previous manager was not the whole story. As the attention grew, disturbing details from her own family started to come to light. They showed cracks, arguments, and betrayals that had been hidden for too long. Family breaks up. While Rain Brown was in trouble with the law and being accused by her former boss, a painful family fight was starting to happen much closer to home. Deep rifts between Rain and her brothers had been showing for a long time before she was arrested in 2025. This showed a side of the Brown family that fans rarely saw on TV. Someone asked Okanagan County Court for an order of protection against her in August 2024. The person was Ray's brother Noah Brown and his wife Rain. The accusations were very upsetting and showed that a family connection was in a lot of trouble. Court records show that Noah accused Rain of stalking, harassing, and abusing drugs. He said that Rain's behavior had gotten so bad that it put his family's safety at risk, especially his two young boys, Elijah and Adam. Noah specifically said that Rain had made a pattern of mean and intentional threats, including a threat of violence that included having a gun or other weapon nearby and causing a lot of emotional pain. It was even scarier when Noah said that Rain was drinking and using drugs like cocaine and meth. He also said that she had offered cocaine to their mother, Amy Brown, when she visited in December 2023. In his plea, Noah brought up two especially scary events. Noah remembered being in an elevator with Rain in July 2022 while filming Alaskan Bush People. She is said to have said, "My life would be so much easier if you were dead. If only I wouldn't get caught. I think my gun is in my room." In May 2023, Rain apparently got angry while trying to move an undernourished horse. Noah said that Rain yelled at him, "Just stop. Please don't help us. I'd rather let the horse die than listen to you. I'm going to kill it myself. Now go wait in your truck or I will get my gun right now." The horse was said to have died the next day. Noah's petition said that these events showed that Rain was becoming more unstable and making more threats, so she should not be able to contact his family and should give up all of her guns, including 2 handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and shotguns. Even though the claims were scary, the court denied the temporary restraining order. The judge said there wasn't enough immediate evidence and there were problems with the process. They also said the incidents were either too far away in time or not well enough documented to warrant emergency protection. In response to the filing, Rain didn't stay quiet. She vented her anger on Instagram about what she saw as the unfair and critical expectations people, including maybe even her own family, had of her. Rain didn't like the idea that people wanted a clean and polished version of her instead of accepting her as she really was. "Why is it praised more to be fake than to be real in a world so harsh?" she wrote. "How come I have to act like I don't know the F word or that I'm a beautiful woman?" In her post, Ray didn't say sorry or admit she did anything wrong. Instead, she was angry and defiant, making it clear she wouldn't fit anyone's idea of what she should be. It seemed like Rain had more to say about the situation than people outside the group knew. She hinted that her side of the story hadn't been told yet by writing, "If that sentence offended you, which made you wonder what happened to her. Ask that question again and again. I might write a book one day." The new accusations from Rain's brother made the burglary charges she was facing seem more likely to people. Her past wasn't just seen as a rebellion as a teenager or a family dispute, it was seen as a pattern of behavior that got more unstable and dangerous over time. Also, there were more and more doubts about Rain's Instagram post in which she said that a former manager set her up. While some loyal fans stuck to her story, more and more fans and observers wondered if Rain might have been able to commit the crimes she was charged with. One fan said, "If Rain really did all the things her brother accused her of, then she's no longer the sweet bright light we saw on TV. All of this makes her look guilty." Someone else wrote, "At this point, it's hard to believe Rain is innocent. When your own family accuses you of so many things, there must be some truth to it."
And just when it looked like things for Rain couldn't get any worse, shocking news came out that her fate was set, and the results were even worse than fans had feared. The most recent shocking news, the news that many fans were afraid of, finally came out after months of rumors, emotional breaks, and more public scrutiny. The shocking turn in Rain Brown's case has come. As soon as Rain was arrested in April 2025, she was freed without bail and told to wait for her next court date. People didn't hear much for weeks, just silence, vague posts on social media, and a lot of guessing about how the court case would go. Some people thought Rain might fight the charges, others thought that behind the scenes, a peaceful deal was taking place. Breaking news though says that Rain Brown has now been officially jailed for the burglary and malicious mischief charges.